I was always a fan of the deeper lore of Mortal Kombat, but specifically the story of Scorpion and Sub-Zero. While the three main Earthrealm heroes, Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, and Johnny Cage, are the main focus of the movies, comics, and game storylines, the little revealed about Scorpion and Sub-Zero always stood out to me. And I'm sure I'm not alone. Elemental ninjas are just plain awesome. Back in 1997, the game Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero was released as MK's attempt at a side-scrolling platformer. This was developed by Avalanche Software and published by Midway Games. It gave an in-depth story of Sub-Zero's mythology with ties to several different MK characters, including heavy focus on both Scorpion and Quan Chi. The game itself received some pretty harsh reviews and wasn't loved by MK fans as it was ridiculously difficult and had some pretty insane inputs to achieve. That said, several fans did enjoy the deeper story for these characters, and many games since have referenced Sub-Zero mythologies. I didn't play the game much myself, but did enjoy watching my brother struggle through it, and I always found that to be an interesting idea. I specifically remember watching the boss fight with Fujin, the Wind God, I believe, who showed up in MK4. Fast forward to 2005, and Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks is released, this time both developed and published by Midway Games. This story followed the Shaolin warriors Liu Kang and Kung Lao on their adventures through the MK universe. The playstyle was similar to Diablo, Gauntlet Legends, and Hunter the Reckoning. This would be an attempt to put them in the couch co-op party beat-em-up space. I've always been a fan of that style of game, though I was never able to play it due to spending money elsewhere. The reviews ranged from average to pretty good, and at the time, I was letting that decide my purchases. But looking back now, most people have very fond memories of that game. Further research on the game showed me that both Scorpion and Sub-Zero are unlockable playable characters with their own movesets but not their own story. This is clearly due to their popularity to the franchise and the fanbase. Fast forward to 2009 and Midway Games files for bankruptcy and later is acquired alongside with its MK assets by Warner Brothers and then is later rebranded as NetherRealm Studios. And MK co-creator Ed Boon is appointed head of the studio. NetherRealm, falling under the WB Games umbrella, has allowed them access to DC Comics content within their games. They've even made an MK DC crossover and 2 Injustice fighting games which put the likes of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman in an MK-style fighting game system. The crossover was the first attempt, and the 2 Injustice games were the full delivery of that DC fighting game vision. They sold very well and were well received by the fighting game community. Also around this time came 3 great MK titles, being MK9, MKX, and MK11, which introduced new mechanics, outfit, and fighting style customization along with compelling story modes. This was a resurgence of Mortal Kombat popularity. In this same time frame came some truly incredible WB Games titles, including the Arkham Trilogy and Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor series, all 5 games being Game of the Year contenders. The Arkham series set the new standard for 3D action-adventure games as well as superhero games. Each game added new gameplay mechanics such as detective mode, takedowns and gadgets in the first, flight/glide mechanics in the second with an open world and alternative character gameplay, and finally Batmobile mechanics along with team-up attacks in the third. Mordor borrowed many gameplay elements from the Arkham series, but added their own innovative nemesis system and creature mounting. Then they added the Lord of the Rings aesthetic along with some very gory combo finishers for polish. So WB Games isn't entirely against reusing assets despite both games being developed by different studios, where Rocksteady developed the Arkham series and Monolith developed the Mordor series. About 7 months after the release of MK11, I mentioned how cool it would be to get a deep dive into the Scorpion Sub-Zero storyline with the Arkham Mordor mechanics. I was thinking the title should be called MK Mythology's Fire and Ice. Now keep in mind I hadn't played the storylines of either MK9, 10, or 11, so this was just something I was thinking. A few weeks later, we get the announcement and trailer for Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge, which literally dives into Scorpion's side of the story. Hanzo Hasashi and his family are slaughtered by who he believes to be Sub-Zero and the Lin Kuei ninja clan. He's later resurrected by Quan Chi as Scorpion to be sent after Sub-Zero in the first MK tournament in canon. Soon after that, my roommate purchased MK11 and I finally got a look at the story mode for the first time, which includes a Sub-Zero Scorpion section titled Fire and Ice. I actually almost lost it when I saw this, and there was confirmation that Scorpion is Ed Boon's favorite character, not to mention he's the NetherRealm's mascot. I definitely think this game can be made, and it would be called MK Fire and Ice, which references their portion in the MK11 story mode. In terms of possible gameplay mechanics, I was thinking that you play the game individually as both ninjas and play out their stories. You find out that Quan Chi is responsible for fabricating the rivalry between your two clans and killing Scorpion's family. Upon learning the truth midway through the game, you set out to claim vengeance as allies. At this point, you choose between the two ninjas and have team scenarios where both are present and use the team attacks from the third Arkham installment. This includes switching back and forth, takedowns, and even simultaneous attack on larger enemies, whether it be Goro, Mataro, or any other pre-boss characters from previous MK installments. This combined with the gory combo finishers from Mordor would serve the game very well. I would even have some of the combo finishers, if not all, turn into X-ray attacks, popularized by the modern era of Mortal Kombat games. I would also add the option to do fatalities at the end of boss fights, which you can unlock in various ways throughout the game, and I would try to have as many different ones for each character as possible. Shadow of War, the second Mordor game, introduces attack upgrades that both freeze and ignite enemies upon use, which can easily be added to either ninja's arsenal. There is also a general counter button that I think could be used very well. Holding the button blocks, but a perfectly timed counter results in a special move by either ninja. Scorpion has his Hellport, and Sub-Zero has his Ice Clone. You can then follow up the landed counter with any move you please, whether it's a general hit, combo finisher, or otherwise. Scorpion has his kunai or spear, like Batman has his grapple gun, which can be used for traversal throughout the environment or implemented during combat. Sub-Zero can utilize his Ice Slide in combat and his Ice Surf in traversal similar to Iceman and in similar mechanics as Batman's Glide. Talion from the Mordor series attacks with a sword and other weapons, which can be represented by Scorpion's sword and Sub-Zero's Ice Axe. Any shuriken and Ice Blast can replace Batarang and knife throws. For some decent variety between the two that makes perfect sense, I would make Scorpion faster with weaker attacks that cause lasting flame damage, and Sub-Zero slower with more powerful attacks that can freeze enemies in place for you to devastate them with a large attack. In conclusion, I truly believe this has Game of the Year potential. I know the risk, but I haven't heard much news on Rocksteady or Monolith's next project. I think either studio would knock this out of the park with oversight from NetherRealm. WB Games, please make this happen. It's worth the investment. Hey everyone, thanks for watching through to the end. Feel free to do whatever you want. I don't care if you subscribe, want to follow. I don't really have an active Twitter, Instagram. I'm really just making this to help people through the quarantine. So, feel free to comment in the comment section. If you want to be a jerk about it, that's fine. I'm sure that'll be fun. I'll probably respond if your comment's really good. Other than that, wash your hands, I guess. Stay safe. Peace.